One of the most profound impacts happening since the pandemic, so we're talking post-pandemic world, is the sense of isolation, separation, and just loneliness that people are feeling. And that doesn't feel like it should be a business issue, but it is certainly impacting the workplace, the marketplace, and people's ability to function at their highest capacity. And it's really so disheartening to see so many people in such a connected world feel so disconnected.
Right.
And it is the paradox of everyone's efforts in technology to create this sense of connectedness, and yet statistically speaking, we know people feel more disconnected and alone and lonely than ever before.
Yeah.
And it just is, it's startling how we can all be in a room together and still feel very much without support, without strength from these relationships that are a bond for us. And so, I don't know, I think let's just chat a little bit about how loneliness is playing out in the workplace these days.
I don't know if you've got thoughts, Monica. I think one of the things for me that I'm mindful of is that I thought that we bottomed out on isolation during the pandemic. And the data that's come back is actually the opposite, is that the level of intentionality that we took during the pandemic, checking on our neighbors, checking in on that employee and just saying, hey, how you doing? How you holding up? It
Like
actually,
sincerely.
It paid off because we knew we're all in it together.
Yeah.
Well, what the data shows is that social isolation started to crater out during that time. There was a huge decrease. And then as we got deeper into the pandemic and post-pandemic, we forgot how important it was. And social isolation now is at its highest. The Surgeon General just came out with a report that said social disconnectedness and isolation is actually at an epidemic level.
What?
And so inside the workplace, our level of intentionality has backed off a whole lot. And so there's a real indication that it is a major driver for both employee engagement and productivity, and also with health. Because with social isolation increases, challenges with mental health, challenges with suicide and addiction, challenges that really disrupt the workplace.
Yeah, I mean, I would just pose the question to anyone watching this, like, how connected do you feel to the people around you, to the people you work with, to your family and friends? For me personally, I keep my circles pretty small. But yet I can connect with anyone, I feel like, given the opportunity. And so one of the questions I have to ask myself is, how well am I stewarding the relationships that I have and that are in my world? Because it's not that there's not people in my proximity, even if they are through Zoom. And you're right, it wasn't like that we bottomed out because people were intentional. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, how connected are we? How do we feel connected? And it's so simple as to what we need to do. I mean, I talk to people all the time. I mean, there's people I'm interacting with every day, and I'll walk away from some conversations and feel like there wasn't a connection made. Or I'll have a 2-second conversation with someone and be like, you my people, right?
Have we?
Exactly.
I feel that way about you, Monica.
You did Greg, 2 seconds.
You're just 4 seconds. She was 4. Took a couple of extra. I was like, okay, I like
Stop
it.
it. So, but I think we have to take personal responsibility for how we interact with each other, because I feel connection to people and don't feel connection a lot of times when people just have walls up. And it's something, it's very, sometimes can be subconscious. It can be just there in the back of your mind, or maybe you've got a lot going on. But I'm telling you, it will keep you from engaging and having true connections with others. And if you do have an issue of loneliness or isolation, it will further add insult to injury because of your personal inability to connect.
That's interesting.
And so my encouragement to everyone is to self-evaluate a little bit and go, do I feel connected? And then after that, do not point one finger at anybody else. Don't do it, because then you got 3 pointing back at you.
Oh my goodness.
That's what my mama said too.
Listen, we've had these conversations before that I find very humorous about fatigue.
Yeah.
Like you put fatigue on the word on the end of any word,
yeah.
right? I'm grace fatigued, I'm mercy fatigued, all these fatigues that are out there. I think what happened with some of that intentionality was that the investment that it took to be so engaged with people did start getting tired of that effort, because once you connect with somebody, and we've talked about empathy before and that emotional connection, because then once I have a sense of that, there's an emotional responsibility that goes along with that.
Yep.
And a lot of people had a lot of emotional dynamics, and it's like, that wore me out. And so that's part of what that pullback happened. And so then the effort to engage again has a little bit of risk to it, and a little bit of sense like, I don't know if I have it in me to have all the emotion. I don't have the emotional bandwidth. And depending on, and I think there's a lot of generational things also, because I'm Gen X, and I've got like a solid group of friends, and I'm good. Like you said, I've got a pocket, I'm good, and I've got a lot of relationships around the nation that are not depth, but they're really good. Like I enjoy them, and so I don't carry that sense, and because I already had a foundation pre-social media, pre-electronic communication, and I think as people have grown up in only having primary relationships through phone technology, or even communicating that way, that the primary communication is through the devices, I think somehow it does lack a depth. And I believe a lot of depth can happen through technology, but there is something that still makes me feel like it's not the human to human, and I don't know if that relationship has in it what I know I have when I'm person to person.
Well, I think
don't know.
I think I don't know if this is a challenge, but it's just a thought that comes to mind. I do remember reading a study that shows that our brains light up differently whenever you're on a Zoom call versus when I'm here. My brain knows the difference because you're in 3D right now.
Yeah.
So there are little things that your face, you know what, if you look side to side on Zoom, you have no idea what's happening on either side. But in this particular case, that might mean danger for me. That might mean you feel some kind of way about me. So I think when it comes down to technology, it can lie to us about what true connection can be. But it is better than the alternative to have no connection. And so I think there's an invitation there. And then secondly, a buddy of mine, Brandon, he actually shared that the longest longitudinal study on health, period, Harvard study, was put together in a book called The Good Life. And he said that the greatest predictor of health is actually relationships.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
And so I believe that Robert Putnam's book, In Bowling Alone, talks about strong ties and weak ties. If we have strong ties, hey, guess what? Somebody that is in my circle, that might be my place of trust. That's important to invest in. But then weak ties are super valuable as well. It creates a sense of connection in my profession, or it creates a sense of connection whenever I go through that divorce or I go through that difficult season. And maybe I don't want to bare my whole soul, but I want to talk to you about the game last night. That is a sense of connection as well. And I think those weak ties are hugely important inside of the workplace.
Yeah, it's good.
So what do we want to encourage people? Like, is it like
Call
make
to
that
action.
effort? Like the idea of
I heard self-evaluation.
Hey, right,
man.
self-evaluation. But like, should I be in the networking space? Should I be working for my weak ties? Should I be working for my strong ties? Like I probably am more intentional about my strong ties. That I really want to lean into them, and then my weak ties are kind of as they come and go.
Well, and
what do you think, Monica? Like what if we feel lonely, there is that sense of like, I don't have the depth of relationship I want. What do you think?
I had a funny thought.
Share
well,
it.
I've already said self-evaluate,
right,
and take responsibility. But maybe some advice in that, how to take responsibility, that I would say is get face-to-face with people. Like, get to face-to-face with I don't care, your strong ties or your weak ties,
Yeah.
but get face to face with people. There is a difference, and it can completely change the course of your day and your life when you get face to face with people, especially people that you want connection with and you want to be like and you like their energy. There's really something special about that. I mean, I was in the dating world for a minute, and there's a difference. I mean, I would talk to somebody and be like, they seem very nice, and we might have a connection.
There might be
And
something
then-
here. Dun, dun,
And then
dun.
you meet in person and you're like, oh my gosh, like there's a completely different energy that is conveyed in person than is in text
That's such
or
a great-
on media. And the same is true whether you know the person, you're just meeting them or not. The same is true. There is a difference. And so taking responsibility to put yourself face to face with people to make connections.
It's just so energizing.
Greg, I think as leaders, we get isolated in our work and we don't recognize it until it's too late. I think sometimes we can be so invested in our work and realize, man, the role that I'm in, if I'm an owner, if I'm an executive, sometimes it can be isolating.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really good for us to be self-evaluative and then be able to pull it back. When was the last time I connected with somebody? And when was the last time I felt heard? It might be a therapist who's just doing all the listening, but I think a gift comes whenever it's both ways, right?
Yeah.
When I'm with my
Yeah.
therapist,
Yes.
they're not there to get filled up when we get together.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with a friend, I am risking something for them, and they're risking something for me, and there's a mutuality there that pours in both of our cups.
Yes.
All right. Well, listen, we want you to be less lonely in life. Don't
What's
we?
up?
We would love to connect with you in person. I mean, we're not offering anything except friendship.
Yeah.
We love
Connect
meeting
with us
people. We'll be
online.
a soft tie. Is that what it is?
Weak ties.
Weak tie.
Strong tie or weak tie?
Strong tie, weak tie. We're happy to be a weak tie any day of the week for you. So thank you very much.